Today's recipe calls for oil. I'm going to show you how to make flour tortillas that use oil instead of lard. These things are a touch healthier. They're really light and soft. They're basically the bee's knees. So with that said, let's get started.
The first thing we need to do is mix all of our dry goods together. In a large holding device, we'll add 3 cups or 400 grams of all-purpose flour. Next, add in 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Sift everything together. Push through any clumps of flour that are left behind. The last thing we need to add is 1 teaspoon of sea salt. Lightly whisk your face off to bring it all together into a dusty, dry mix. Now it's time to add our wet ingredients. The first thing we'll add is 1 cup or 236 mils of warm water. Following that, add in a 1/4 cup or 59 mils of a neutral tasting oil. Once all of the ingredients are in the bowl, with your built-in grabber or with a wooden spoon, mix the dry with the wet in the bowl until it becomes a shaggy looking dough. When it becomes a shaggy dough, it should look and feel lumpy and bumpy in texture. Now that you've accomplished a rough looking dough ball, turn it out onto your work surface. Knead the dough for about 5 to 6 minutes or until you end up with a smooth looking and filling dough. At the beginning, it may feel sticky and tacky and it might stick a little to your hands and work surface. Don't panic and add any extra flour. Adding more flour will dry the dough out, giving us a tougher and drier tortilla. In the end, this is what your dough ball should look like. It should be super soft and smooth. There are a few ways of doing this. You can eye it out and make roughly 12 to 14 balls of dough, or you can also weigh them out using a kitchen scale. The weight of each dough ball should be 1.25 ounces or 35 grams. This should give you around 18 dough balls. This will give us a good sized tortilla. It'll be right around the size of a store-bought one. Play around with the weights to get the size you're looking for. Now that you have the portioned out dough, we need to smooth and tighten them up. I like to grab the dough and pull it down and fold it under the dough ball, which makes the top side smooth and tight. The bottom side is a little ugly looking. We need to smooth that out as well. You can roll the dough ball on your work surface in a circular motion until it becomes tight and smooth, or you can roll the dough in between your hands to accomplish the same thing. Once you have the spheres of gluten, we need to let them rest. Cover them with a clean kitchen towel that is damp. The wet towel will prevent them from drying out while they hang out and rest. Set a timer for 30 minutes to let the dough balls hang out. This will allow the gluten to rest, making them way easier to roll out into a shape of a tortilla. Now that the timer has gone off, let's flatten these balls of dough. Grab a piece and flatten it into a disc using your hands. This will help start the process of getting a shape we're looking for. Next, very lightly dust the work surface and your rolling pin with some flour. Start to roll the dough back and forth a few times until it becomes an oval in shape. Once that's happened, flip it over and give it a half turn. Repeat the same method of rolling back and forth to achieve the oval shape. Again, just the opposite way than before. I also like to roll it diagonal to kind of help keep the shape of the tortilla. They don't need to be the perfect circles by any means, but it is important to ensure you apply the same equal pressure all the way across when rolling them out. This will help ensure the edges are the same thickness as the center is. This will also ensure they will cook evenly as well. Keep rolling them out until the tortilla becomes translucent. When it becomes translucent, you know it's done. Repeat the same process until all of the torts are rolled out. If the dough ball won't roll out and flatten, let them rest for an additional 5 to 10 minutes. Once you've rolled out your last tortilla, grab a large pan like a comal, a cast iron pan, or any sauté pan that's big enough to cook your frisbee of dough. Gently toss the cooking device over medium to medium-high heat, depending on how hot your burner runs. Allow the pan to become ripping hot. You can test how hot it is by adding a few small drops of water to the pan. If the droplets of H2O evaporate immediately, you know it's ready to go. Throw down your first tortilla into the pan. Ensure it lays flat in the pan. Cook it for around 40 seconds to a minute or until the entire tortilla has the small bubbles on top and the bottom side becomes slightly golden brown in color. Once that's happened, flip it over and cook the other side the same way. The thinner your tortilla is, the faster it will cook. When you toss the dough disc in the pan, it should start to bubble fairly quick within 10 to 15 seconds after it's in the pan. If it doesn't, your pan isn't hot enough. Throughout the cooking process, you may need to adjust your heat up or down. The tortillas are like Goldilocks. The heat can't be way too hot or it'll burn, or the heat can't be too low where it doesn't cook them at all. After it's been cooked, wrap them in a clean kitchen towel or put them in a tortilla warmer. Repeat the same process until everything has been cooked off. It took me a few times to make this video because I made a couple mistakes along the way, which just means you can always be learning new things no matter how good you think you are. Here are a few things that I think I messed up on that led me to making this video so many times, or trying to. Not kneading the dough long enough to create more gluten to make the tortilla elastic, which in turn makes them softer in the end. So don't be afraid to put the work in when kneading. The other thing is my pan wasn't hot enough, so I ended up cooking them longer than I should have, which then dried them out, giving me crackers instead of tortillas. At first, making tortillas can be a little tricky, but be patient and practice making them. You'll get the hang of it, and we'll be making them all the time. Now that they've all been cooked, check them out. They're super soft and pliable. You can roll them and fold them without any of them ripping. Eat them with some rice and beans, or use them for a burrito, or eat one as a snack. Whatever you decide to do, just enjoy.
Alright, now that our tortillas are done, let's give them the old taste-a-roo. But first, they look really aesthetically pleasing. They're nice and round, or this one is at least. And we got a little bit of caramelization to them as well, a little bit of brown to them. And they look like they're going to be super soft and fluffy. And you can fold them and put them in weird shapes and they won't break, which is super nice. So yeah, let's give them a taste. First, let's warm it up and put a little bit of butter on them because that's the way you're supposed to eat them, or that's how I ate them growing up. So let's do that. These things came out super tasty. They taste exactly like a tortilla should, and they're just way better than the store-bought stuff because they don't have all that extra junk in them, and it has the perfect amount of salt to them as well. That little bit of caramelization we got on them brings a little bit of flavor to the table. Texture-wise, they're just nice and light, airy, and fluffy. They're just perfect all the way around, in my opinion. And that butter and salt we added makes them even more delicious. You can't go wrong with making these things. This recipe is super fun to make. It is a touch time consuming, but in the end, it's well worth it. And once you learn the base on how to make flour tortillas, you can easily swap out the fat source for something different. Maybe use some butter or some duck fat, or use like a garlic infused oil to make it really jazzed up and special. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching. Now I gotta go find a ton of stuff to make some sweet, delicious burritos, or maybe some breakfast burritos. Sound super tasty as well. So yeah, I gotta go do that. So we'll see you on the next one. Look there. Aesthetically pleasing. The fridge. Small amount of brownness, or a chili oil to pizzazz it up. I don't know what I'm saying. Airy and just fluffy and